Hello and welcome to Pathways. I'm Dr. Kate Hetherington, president of Howard Community College. The coronavirus pandemic has tested and pushed Howard Community College into uncharted territory. Yet our faculty, staff, and students quickly adapted and forged new pathways to success with determination and resilience. The campus-wide shift to remote learning and services brought a number of challenges and opportunities. Here to tell us more is Director of E-Learning, Dr. Megan Myers, Associate Vice President of Enrollment Services, Loriana Mapps, and President of the Student Government Association, Daryl Jeffries. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with you, Megan. What challenges did you face transitioning faculty to remote learning?
Well, we do have a strong community of online faculty here, but we also have hundreds of faculty who only teach face-to-face and hundreds of courses that were only set up to be taught face-to-face. So it was a big transition to move those courses online in a really short period of time. So we offered a lot of professional development, and we really had to think about the skills that our faculty have and really that agility that they have in the classroom every day, adapting to their students and the community, and how to bring that sense of community online.
Well, and the work that you did along with Amy Chase Martin, members of your team, was quite impressive. And as you said, you did it so rapidly. It's like a miracle, but it took more than a miracle. It was a lot of hard work. So thank you so much for doing that. And Loriana, what challenges emerged for students?
Yeah, we realized that our normal way of reaching students was, or serving students was in person. And so really having to shift to all remote operations and rather quickly was a big shift for us. We worked with students through technology challenges, even having access to laptops and hotspots, learning how to do an advising session through Zoom, how to upload documents instead of turning them into us. And so we really, those were some of the challenges that we faced with students. I think there was also some uncertainty about, what does an online class look like? So we worked with Dr. Myers and her team to kind of familiarize students with that. But those were just a few of the challenges we helped students through in the transition to remote learning.
Yeah, it was just so impressive, and the feedback from students has been pretty remarkable in terms of their satisfaction levels. And Daryl, you as our student government president, what was your experience as campus life went remote?
Well, at first I didn't really know what to expect. I was a little nervous at first going into it, but I felt comfortable being able to, communicate with my teachers and being able to have them in my corner, guiding me and leading me through online classes. I really didn't know how I was gonna feel about it at first because I'm used to being in class. I like that interaction, that face-to-face. But having teachers stay on my back and having them stay in communication with me really helped me a lot. And it really helped me pass my classes.
Well, that's good news that you passed, and I'm sure you did more than pass those classes too. So Loriana, tell me about the information that you gathered from the student survey that was conducted.
Sure. We pretty soon after we went remote, we had a week-long spring break and then a week break before classes started. So we reached out to students via a survey to figure out not only what technology needs they had, but if there were any other needs that needed to be met at the time. So technology needs was first and foremost. I think a lot of what we experienced was that students had access to technology, so a Chromebook or an iPad, but those resources weren't exactly compatible with what was needed for the classroom or to take tests. And so really working with students in that survey to determine, what do you need? Are there needs beyond technology? So we had, students respond with, some food needs, some, I'm not sure how I'm going to pay rent needs, which are very real needs. Some students replied to the survey and just said, hey, I'm great. Thanks for checking on me. And so we responded to every student that replied, no matter what the need is, and or forwarded on to other areas that could help them.
And approximately how many students did you hear from on that survey?
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000. Wow. And the fact that you responded to all of them is just remarkable. So thank you and your team for doing that.
Yes.
And Daryl, I'm sure you saw that survey, and you, like many students, are dependent on those student services to make sure that you're successful in classes. So what services have you found that have been most helpful for you?
Well, the biggest thing that's been most helpful for me was just Canvas. Having the teachers there for me and knowing that they're checking up on me and knowing that people are actually like worried about us. It really helped me out. It made me feel safe. It made me feel comfortable. It made me feel like I wasn't alone out here by myself. Being able to check my messages and being able to have my emails come in and know what's going on like for the next week and know what's going on like throughout the whole school year. It made me feel more comfortable with the whole process.
It's interesting that you say that, Daryl, because I've heard faculty say that some of them have started their class by just checking in with everybody, just asking, how are you doing? Was that your experience as well?
Yeah, I had a lot of teachers that really they got personal with me. It wasn't just work. It was actually like, how are you doing? How are you handling this? Like, what difficulties were you facing? And, what can I do to help you? And that's important to me.
Yeah, I can imagine it is. So Megan, how have you provided ongoing support to our faculty during this transition?
Yeah, so one of the things that I've been so impressed with is our faculty's desire to just keep growing and growing their skill and their knowledge around being able to support our students online. That first week or two was just about making the transition, but we've had so many faculty sign up for this really intensive course that we offer called Teach Online. And it's over 10 hours of professional development. We've shrunk it down to 10 days. And it's really intensive, and it really shows faculty how to create that sense of community and collaboration that our faculty are so skilled at doing in the classroom, active learning, project-based learning, and how to do that online. And then we find that even after faculty get out of there, they want to do more professional development. So we are offering more and more workshops, and so are our colleagues in faculty development, because there really is just a huge desire from our faculty to continue to support our students and to use some of the same strategies that they use face-to-face online.
Well, I think that says not only a lot about you and e-learning, but also about our commitment to our faculty to do the best they possibly can to serve our students. So thank you for providing those opportunities for them to become even better. Thank you for that. Daryl, going through all this, what advantages do you think remote learning has for you?
Well, I feel like a lot of advantages that I realized were I was able to, set up my day the way I wanted to. So I was able to, get a routine for myself, get a specific schedule that really works for me. Because I know when we were on campus, it was just, I'm following the day schedule of how my classes are set up. But when I'm home, I can actually, wake up, think about all the responsibilities I have for the day, and then act accordingly, get a routine for myself. I can personalize my schedule, and it worked a lot for me.
It sounds like it's probably been a help in terms of your time management too. You can create your structure for yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Megan, how did this unexpected shift lead to new and creative ways of teaching? I'm sure you've heard some amazing examples from our faculty.
Yeah, we have heard amazing things from faculty who are taking courses that are not usually taught online. Everything from dance and culinary, and creating really rich learning opportunities for students. And one thing that we've heard from faculty who are reflecting back from students is that they often really enjoy the opportunity to practice, to see something over and over. So if, for example, if you're learning a very advanced knife cutting technique in a culinary course, you might just see that one time. in your face-to-face class. But if you're seeing it online, you're going to get a chance to review that as many times as you want. So, it might be something simple like that, or it might be the fact that you can really do a lot of video annotation that faculty are doing with their students. So there's lots of innovation across the college that faculty are engaged in with their students, and lots of really practical ways that that's helpful for students too.
That's amazing. It just makes you wonder about when we come out of this and are in our new reality, what might be the preferred way of learning for students. Some of them might, many students, of course, love face-to-face, but for some students, this might be an option that they'll want to explore. So we'll see, right? Loriana, how did you solve the technology gap for students? We hear a lot about this gap. What did you specifically do to help students?
We had two areas where we really helped bridge that gap. The first one was with the survey. As a result of the survey, we had a laptop loaner program for students. And so we loaned laptops. I believe the number at this point is 575, I think, is the total number of laptops we've lent to students, and as well as hotspots. So if Wi-Fi access is an issue, we were able to help students with that. We continued to help students with that too as the semesters progressed and we moved from spring to summer, and we'll go into fall. We'll still offer that support. I think also we had some funding to help with providing more or longer impact technology gap bridging. And so for some students, we were able to provide grant funds for them to purchase laptops. And so that was helpful as well. So I think those two methods really helped us bridge the gap for students and make sure that their gap in learning was little to none at all.
So Loriana, what other support services did you offer?
We tried to transition everything over to replicate the in-student or in-office experience. So everything from an advising appointment that would normally be done one-on-one face-to-face, we moved to virtual advising. All of our placement tests that we offer for students placing into math and English, we also moved to remote offerings. And so at any point, we tried to move everything over to remote operations, including career services counseling, financial aid counseling, anything that we offered previously in the student services area, we attempted to offer remotely.
Well, that's an amazing task, because you think something as difficult as explaining financial aid in person is to try and do that remotely. That's pretty challenging. So kudos to you and the rest of the team.
Thank you.
And now, Darryl, I have the last question for you. Recognizing the challenges that students are facing, what message do you, as president of the Student Government Association, have for the student body?
Well, I just want them to know that they're not alone. We're all in this together. I want them to just only focus on the things that they can control. Don't overthink it. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just take it one step at a time. And I want them to just know that we're all in this together. We're going to work through it together. We're going to get through it together. I want them to just uplift each other and continue to just have hope and stay focused and just stay encouraged. And we'll accomplish everything we want to accomplish.
Well, Darryl, that's great advice, not only for students, but for all of us. And thank you so much for your wise words.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate your time. I know how busy everybody is. So thank you for joining me and letting us know how things are happening at the college. Up next, we'll find out how faculty, ingenuity, and creativity resulted in a seamless and effective transition to online learning.
Howard Community College has long been offering online classes, but moving all classes to a remote environment was a big shift. Faculty relied on Canvas, a digital classroom tool, and many other resources to keep students engaged and learning.
But then I tried Kahoot. I have it for every chapter. You can see it on the computer and you can do it on the cell phone.
That was so much fun. I wish all my professors would have used it. I feel like they were the most important questions about each chapter. They kind of stuck in my mind.
I did animated videos to make it more fun for them to watch, to learn about the concepts. So just trying to find creative ways to get them engaged with the material. I had all of my students upload their videos to YouTube. Being online can give you some benefits. You can practice, you can record your video, and if you don't like it, you get a chance to do it over, which is something you didn't get in person.
I am a kind of person who needs a lot of me time. So whenever I'm in the washroom, I talk to myself in the mirror. So perhaps talking to the camera was not a hurdle for me.
In the music program, there were many technical challenges that required innovative solutions.
The immediate thing that I thought was we have to continue. We can't just say, oh, we can't perform anymore. Basically, all they needed was some way to record themselves.
I'm grateful for the professors that we've had. I think that the music department wanted us to succeed, and they didn't want us to feel like we were missing anything.
The changes brought some unexpected benefits to both the faculty and the students.
Because we're often telling students, record yourself, record yourself, record yourself. And they do it sometimes, but this really forced the issue. And they had to listen back, and they realized, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't quite as good as I thought it was. And so this pushed them to really put it together.
And having to do everything via recording was so revealing for me. It allowed me to progress so much more. I was actually amazed, not just at myself, but in hearing my peers too.
When on-campus studios and galleries closed, professors found new ways for students to continue their artistic pursuits.
The move to remote classes provides a new challenge for faculty who rely on studio spaces to teach hands-on techniques.
I've never taught online before at all with ceramics. It's all hands-on, grading is all hands-on. So it really went from, I guess it was like the 13th to there's no way I can teach ceramics online to maybe I can to, of course I can. I'm an artist. I can be creative. I teach the creative process.
The first large hurdle we had with transitioning from in-person and a 4-hour-long studio class was really figuring out how we were going to get student supplies. Like, that was the big thing.
Faculty turned to what students had at home or outdoors. They encouraged students to explore the world around them and find art in everyday objects.
We did found object sculptures. So I instructed the students to either go around their homes or within nature and find things they could use to create sculpture.
They found things that they had saved for years and years and added them and incorporated them. And so it became even more personal in ways that they could not have with clay. It would have been more writing on the clay or coloring on the clay as opposed to incorporating those objects. So it was a big surprise. It really was.
One of my students' work really strikes me. She commandeered a corner of her basement and did a whole site-specific installation with found objects, with clothing. Made this totally atomically correct humanoid out of clothing, and I thought it was a great success. And she was working with color theory too.
There's something called the Art Povera movement, which is I think it stands for poor art, where you use random things. And I've seen a lot of modern sculptures that are just piles of clothing, and I thought that it'd be cool to make out of clothing. But at first I was just gonna make the person, and then when the person was finished, I felt like it looked out of place, like it needed something else. So then I decided to do the background in monochrome to make it an entire installation.
The student exhibition showed a wide range of works.
It's a testament to our students and our faculty who really worked hard this semester at getting, one, organizing their courses, and two, working with the students. And I think the proof of that hard work is in this exhibition.
The Student Invitational Art Exhibition can be viewed on the Horowitz Center Facebook page. Be sure to check out these amazing works of art. With students from over 80 different countries, the award-winning English Language Center had unique challenges in transitioning to online courses.
Jennifer Stadler had to make sure the students in her business communication class could stay connected.
We had one class before we broke apart, and so we created a WhatsApp group to help us all keep in touch, and in case we were to lose someone or someone were to have some difficulty getting online.
Many students had taken online classes before, but they weren't sure if it would work for this particular course.
For me, it was like, no, I want to see my friends and my teacher and interact with them.
And the writing part, because we used to talk a lot in writing, that kind of like was different because we write a lot on the board.
But by going online, the students might have gotten a preview of how business will be conducted in the future.
We did a unit on how to conduct a meeting. And if we were in the classroom, we would have been having actual little meeting breakout rooms. But in business now, so many meetings are on Zoom. So they had a chance to run a meeting, but it was a Zoom meeting. So it's still relevant. It was just different.
And the class members did some bonding that might not have happened in the classroom.
So there was some time that we spent talking about what was going on in the world. And that was important too, in addition to class stuff.
We helped each other so much. Like there was support, not only from the instructor, but also between the classmates.
Like if we were having problems, we would reach out to Jen on WhatsApp and she'll tell us what to do. So everything went just fine.
The English Language Center continues to serve students seeking to learn or improve their English skills. HCC's apprenticeship programs allow students to gain valuable on-the-job experience. During the pandemic, students played an important role in essential fields.
One of the first things I've been tasked with is to walk around the building and examine the exterior. All that brick needs to be either replaced or refinished.
HCC student Colby Mannequin is serving as a construction management apprentice for Hamel Builders.
The construction management apprenticeship is a 2-year program, and the students are working full-time, so that's 4,000 hours of on-the-job training, and they are attending school. They work at the employer Monday through Thursday, and they attend school at HCC on Fridays.
I'd always had in the back of my mind construction as being something that I was very seriously interested in. And so I thought it was a great opportunity. When I saw this program, I kind of decided that I would like to begin to make money. And I still am taking classes, so I'm still continuing my education.
The employers do pay the full tuition, fees, books for all of the apprentices. In addition, Colby is earning a progressive wage, and he will continue to have progressive wage bumps until he's complete the program.
Colby began the apprenticeship this past September. Since construction is an essential field, his apprenticeship has continued throughout the coronavirus pandemic.
We are providing housing, and especially affordable housing where people need these places. People are relying on us to finish our deadlines so that they can move in on time.
When Hamel Builders implemented its coronavirus operation plan, Colby was working in the safety department.
All these guys, it's hot out today. They still got their masks on. Try and keep 6 feet apart as best as possible. Another thing we've been looking for when we get here is that they have their wash station, which is the new implementation that we've included on our job sites. So here we're checking to see if this fall protection board is sturdy enough. It's not supposed to move more than 2 inches from either side.
It's cool to kind of see him learn kind of like I did. I think the best way to learn construction is through experience, and that's why this apprenticeship is so awesome, because it puts you out in the field. You can learn in the classroom, but you really learn a lot more hands-on being out in the field. So seeing him kind of grow and his excitement or his drive to learn, while he's here is nice.
At the conclusion of the apprenticeship, Colby will earn HCC's Certificate of Construction Management and be eligible to sit for the Construction Manager in Training exam, all while remaining a full-time Hamel employee.
So after these 2 years of his program, he's our employee that we know is trained. Not only have we trained him to our company standards and likings, he's been trained under HCC in their classes. So we get a highly educated, full trained employee after the 2 years.
For more information about apprenticeship programs, visit our website. As shifts in jobs and changes in the economy continue, now is a prime opportunity to think and plan ahead for your career. Here to tell us how is Associate Director of Career Services, Dr. David Turpek. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Dave, what's the best way to plan and prepare for the future when the future is so uncertain?
This is such a great question. With career development, we always focus on wanting to learn about ourselves, who we are as people, what are we interested in, what are our skills, our values, our leisure interests, our personality. And we also want to match that to the environment. And so now we're in an environment that's frequently changing. So it's requiring us to be adaptable. It's requiring us to learn more about the fields and how they're growing and changing. So it's really a process. The process is similar of still learning about yourself, but doing the research of what's out there now. And it's really going to require us to adapt, to change, to grow, to get out of our comfort zone, because this is a time unlike any other that we're going through right now.
Because it's so unlike any other time, our services at the college are being offered for the most part remotely. So what are the services that you're providing virtually?
Yes, so we're happy to meet with students, alumni, community members. We're also serving faculty and staff are asking us to do workshops with their students. Last week, in fact, we did some mock interviews with physical therapy assistant students, and it was tremendous and wonderful as a way for them to actually practice virtual interviews. So we're available through Zoom. We also are available for phone calls too. So we're meeting, helping people figure out what they want to do. Again, learning about themselves, exploring the world of work, practicing interviewing, helping them with their resume, internships. So we're here, we want to help out students, and we're also planning for virtual events in the fall, such as virtual job fairs, internship fairs, recruiting. So again, we can connect people to employment opportunities.
So it sounds like things are continuing, as always at HCC, just in a different way of doing business.
Absolutely. We're adapting. It's fun. It keeps us busy. It keeps us invested. And we really enjoy, helping students in any way that we can.
Dave, our community has very much been affected by COVID-19. So are HCC's career services available to members of our community?
Yes. In fact, not only appointments, but our events that we offer, we always invite members of the community. When we look at our numbers, typically about 25% of our appointments are members of the community. And even at some of our larger scale events like our job fairs, traditionally we have about half of our attendees as members of the community. So it's a really strong part of our identity. And yes, community members are available and able to take advantage of our services.
Well, that's great. So if I were a community member or even a student, how do I make an appointment?
Yeah, so the first thing I would recommend is looking at our website, howardcc.edu/career. There are some great online resources that folks can take advantage of just by using that site. They can also call our main number, 443-518-1340, and someone will speak with them to set up an appointment.
Great, thank you. So Dave, my final question, what is the most important piece of advice you can give to someone who's looking for a job or for an internship?
I think for one, it's being persistent, it's being creative, it's not giving up, it's finding support. Again, this is a time unlike any other, and it's very important to be creative. A lot of employers, in fact, are having to adapt and change. And in fact, there was a recent article that came about that about 25% of employers recently had to kind of shift what their plans were for the future. And so it's really allowing students an opportunity to be creative of how they market themselves. It might be volunteer experience that they want to take advantage of, a special project, networking with folks in their industry. But the big thing is finding support, adapting, being creative, and doing your best to not give up during this time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to agree that your words of not giving up are so critical, because There's so many opportunities available, and it's just hanging in there and being persistent. Dave, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
When the Howard County government put out a call for donations of personal protective equipment and supplies, HCC's faculty and staff jumped at the opportunity to help.
All of the activities that had to happen within the labs had to stop.
Once the college moved to remote classes, it freed up personal protective equipment used in HCC labs for donation to those fighting the pandemic. We donated more than 30,000 pieces of personal protective equipment to the Howard County Office of Emergency Management.
It's one of the things that we know that's going to help when you're on the front lines to make sure that your healthcare workers are able to give the care that they need to give to the patient. I think our efforts toward donating the supplies our efforts were well received, and we were happy to do it.
Preparing the next generation of our nation's healthcare workforce is a priority at HCC. During the coronavirus pandemic, many of our current students and alumni have been making an impact on the front lines.
Gina Natriba had just started taking classes at HCC when the pandemic hit. When she was called to help out, she received hands-on training and a real-life look inside full-time work as a paramedic.
I was actually deployed through my company to northern New Jersey. It was a hot zone for COVID at the time. It was in early April, so just to be thrown into that pretty young in my career, it was definitely a very scary experience for me, but I did learn a lot.
Gina wasn't alone. HCC students and alumni were on the front lines, helping patients with COVID-19. HCC alumni were as far away as Hawaii and as close as Maryland.
All of the nurses that were there, we all were redeployed to other areas, whether it be ICU, med-surg, some of us even went to long-term care facilities.
Typically, we normally do surgeries, but since the pandemic, everything shut down. The bulk of the work we were doing was just intubations when they called us for patients who were not able to breathe.
I feel like, I'm kind of like the military right now because, there's a little bit of hurt out there, but I go out there.
Their work involved long shifts and left them facing a lot of new and unknown situations.
We had to decontaminate, take the bus back to the hotel, eat breakfast, and then I got to sleep and do whatever for about 10 hours. So, and then just go right back on shift.
And there's a lot of hesitation, go in a room, well, this person's coughing. Are they coughing because they just took a sip of coffee? Or are they coughing because they have COVID?
And the fact that you could be getting exposed to it. So that was kind of weighing heavily on your mind at the same time.
For one HCC graduate, the pandemic hit him and his family extremely hard.
My challenges were a little personal because my mother was a registered nurse as well. She ended up getting sick and contracting the COVID virus. She passed the day before Easter.
Liam's mother, Evelyn, was also a graduate of the HCC nursing program, and she was a huge inspiration to him. Fortunately, Liam was able to see her before she died.
I was able to essentially sneak in because I was a registered nurse and I knew how to handle myself with PPE. It was tough too because there was no way to stay connected to her, even though we're nurses. There was no way to get her messages and things because she was intubated and restrained, and it was really tough on me and my family.
As a nurse, Liam knew that most patients died alone, with no family present, so he worked on a way for families to communicate with loved ones in isolation.
I've partnered with a company, and we're trying to get photo frames into every COVID-19 isolation room so that families can remotely dump messages and cards and short videos directly to their family member, their loved one. And I think that this is going to be her legacy, both as a nurse and as a mother.
Through the stress of the long days and the mounting cases, the people on the front lines did manage to find some joy.
It gives me goosebumps every time you go in and you reassure a patient that you're going to be able to help them.
Hawaii is very spirit of aloha, and I've always sort of seen that since arriving on the island. And I have colleagues where they're bringing them food or they're applauding the streets.
They threw us a parade where pretty much all of northern New Jersey Fire Rescue came out. So just the gratitude and the appreciation coming from them, it was so rewarding to me.
And what message do they have for the public about the pandemic?
The biggest thing that would be helpful for people to understand is that we, as healthcare workers, still don't have all the answers. And it's not because we're not trying. It's not because we're not looking. It's not because we aren't doing the research. It's just that things are changing at a very fast pace.
There's a lot of hurts right now, but, she needs to look at the positive and hoping that things will get better, but then it's going to take some hard work.
A lot of healthcare workers died from it. So it's real. And that's a part I think most people don't quite get.
We are committed to one another as human beings. And part of that commitment is wearing your mask, doing everything that you can to slow down the spread of this.
Just take the necessary precautions because we're going to be living with COVID until we get a vaccine.
The coronavirus pandemic created change for HCC students and our community. Here to help us navigate these times is the HCC Director of Counseling and Career Services, Dr. Jay Coughlin, and Associate Director of Mental Health Counseling, Dr. Joy Stevens. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joy, I'm going to begin with you. What kind of issues are you seeing with students during these times?
So when the pandemic began, we saw a lot of students facing anxiety. There was a lot of worry, fear, and concern about how things would unfold, what could happen next. And I think students were even anxious about what it would be like to move to remote learning, what it would be like to sort of adjust in their communities and with their families. So with that, there also came some depression and sadness. I think people had a sense of loss and sometimes some disconnection and sort of really missing their community and missing the campus support that they had. And so I think folks were dealing with mixed emotions, so anxiety, depression, and then grief. So grieving sort of what had become the norm for them in terms of their day-to-day routine, but also a loss of some of the rituals when we think about graduations and other sorts of celebrations and how we had to adapt in terms of social distancing and quarantining. And so with all of those issues, I think people were really facing a lot of adjustment. And I'm grateful that our students are resilient. And so I think they've really been able to adapt and sort of make some changes and find new routines. But what I found is that people really appreciated having some additional support as they were making those changes and adapting to what's become a new normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are really dealing with so much right now. So Jay, how can counseling help a person who is struggling?
I think counseling can help just help them feel less isolated, like Joy was saying. I think during this time when we're all in quarantine, we're in quarantine emotionally too. I think a lot of students might be hibernating in their rooms, not interacting even with people in the household. The important thing is to talk about what's going on. If you're struggling, I always tell people, even if you don't want counseling, talk to somebody, because that somebody might say, hey, a counselor might really help you. I heard the counseling center's still open. And so being able to put it out there, because when you're able to talk about problems, you get perspective. And the problems might not seem so overwhelming. You also might get some possible alternate perspectives and solutions in terms of how to resolve those issues. So just being able to talk and get those stressors out in the open.
So Jay, how has counseling and career services adapted? Because we're doing everything remotely, pretty much everything remotely at the college. So what has your area done to accommodate students during this really trying time?
Yeah, it was a very stressful 2 weeks when we sort of took a break from being open. There was a couple pieces. There was a technology piece where everybody had to make sure they had the technology to do remote services. And then there's sort of training in terms of best practices, making sure that we were operating under ethical standards, making sure I've never done teletherapy before, so making sure we knew how to do teletherapy in an ethical way. And then Joy can talk about the interns. We have 3 interns that were with us that needed to be trained. So the trainers need to be trained, and then the trainees need to be trained. So it was quite a lot of watching training videos and making sure everybody had the technology up to snuff. And then I really tried to reach out to all the students. Everybody that touched base with Counseling Center or CCS, I just wanted to let them know that we're still open. We're going to open again. I think it was March 31st that we opened. And then I encouraged all the people that were seeing students to reach out to them individually. So everybody was trying to form a connection. And we try to offer the Zoom counseling and the telephone counseling as alternatives to the in-person counseling.
And one of the things that we're finding with the pandemic is that there are silver linings that come out of all this. And it made me think that, just as you were speaking about the teletherapy, how this might be a preferred way going forward, even when we're back on campus, for students to communicate. So Joy, would you like to comment on that at all?
Yes, I think it's actually made counseling a lot more convenient for people. So when you think about the commute and sort of sometimes what it takes to kind of get to campus, especially when you're juggling multiple roles in terms of being a student, working, family responsibilities, it sometimes can be really convenient to be able to have an appointment from home. And I also think it takes away some of the stigma. Unfortunately, there's still a stigma that exists around seeking mental health counseling. And so if you're able to sort of do a Zoom appointment or make a phone call, no one has to know that that's what you're doing. So I think people have really appreciated sort of having that option. And I think that students also sort of look forward to the meetings. And so there's some level of relief, I think, for a lot of students when they had their first appointments and just seeing that other person's face again. I could sort of see that, like, we're back. And so I think, and Jay can probably attest to this too, that students have been a lot more consistent in terms of keeping appointments, a lot more timely. And so I think that there's definitely room for us to continue this throughout the years.
Yeah, Jay, would you like to add anything more to that?
No, I think the transportation tends to be, I had a student that took an Uber ride to and from school every day, and it was a lot of money. So he ended up saving a lot of money just with the Zoom, and really liked the convenience of the Zoom therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something for us to think about going forward. So Joy, what kinds of everyday practices can all of us employ to maintain our mental health?
So I think that one thing the pandemic has given us an opportunity to do is really sort of revisit some healthy habits. So I think one of the things that I've encouraged people to do is really practice some physical activity. So whether that's walking, stretching, yoga, even just getting outside. So I found that a lot of people are starting to walk or explore their neighborhoods, local parks. Another thing that's been really helpful, and I think a lot of students deal with, is sleep hygiene. And so sometimes when you're kind of working in a remote way, the schedule may be a little bit different. So still encouraging people to think about having a set time that they go to bed, set time that they wake up, and even aiming for 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. I also think it can be really helpful to sort of think about creative ways to stay connected. So I know people have talked about Zoom meetings and virtual challenges. And so it's been also an opportunity for students to connect maybe with people that were maybe away, away from home or in different cities or states. And so they have regular contact with them now in ways that they might not have if we weren't sort of doing some of the social distancing. And I always encourage people to think about mindfulness practice. And so I think one thing that I've heard sort of across the board from students is that they've had more room to reflect and be present. And so sometimes we are rewarded for multitasking or kind of doing more than one thing at a time. And so as things have slowed down, I think people have been able to really practice doing one thing at a time, practice kind of being more present in their interactions, even taking time to write or read, just different ways to reflect. And so I've seen people really report positive results from sort of making some of those subtle changes in their day-to-day routines.
Yeah, those are just wonderful ways and for people to deal with their maintaining mental health, good mental health during these times. Jay, I often hear people talk about how their stress level is so high and their anxiety level is so high. Joy just gave us many helpful tips. is there something else that you can, especially with this anxiety and stress that we hear over and over from everybody, faculty, staff, students, our own family members, what tips could you give to them?
Well, I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Joy said in terms of self-care. She talked about sleep hygiene, eating better, and even physical hygiene. I always tell people, take showers every day, dress as if you're going to work, because without the commute, we don't have the anchors in our day to sort of say, oh, this is when my work day starts, or this is when my school day starts, and this is when it ends. So creating the routine so that you have a sense of predictability in your life. And then just being aware of your stressor, I guess being aware of what's in your body. I always tell people the mind and the body are connected. So whatever you're stressed about in your mind will play out in your body and vice versa. So often we try to focus on one of two things. We can calm your body down and that'll calm your mind down, or we can calm your mind down and that'll calm your body down. So whatever feels more comfortable to you, whether it be mindfulness training that Joy mentioned, or something like progressive muscle relaxation where you're relaxing your body first, just making space in your schedule, either first thing in the morning, in the midday, or at night before you go to sleep, making that a priority. So that's just as important as eating or sleeping, that you have to do that every day. And it's just like a muscle. The more you work it out, the more you work out that relaxation skill, the better, the stronger that muscle is going to become. So what a counselor can do is sort of encourage you to do that, give you some training, and keep you going in that way.
Those are from both of you such great words of wisdom, and I'm sure everyone, including me, appreciates that advice. So Joy, here's my last question. Where should someone start if they want to speak to a counselor?
So if someone would like to make an appointment, the easiest way would be to call Counseling and Career Services. Our number is 443-518-1340. We'll have someone available that can help to schedule the appointment and give you information about how to fill out any forms that are required before that initial meeting. And you can also take a look at the Counseling Services website, where we have some information about what happens during a first appointment, as well as a follow-up, as well as resources about any information that could be useful to you in terms of preparing for counseling, as well as self-care and resources that are available.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today. You've given us so much information. It's so valuable and so important during these really trying times. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Despite facing a season cut short by the pandemic, HCC's athletes have a lot to celebrate. Our men's basketball team had its most winning season in history, and head basketball coach Mike Smelkinson earned recognition as Coach of the Year.
The story of this year's Region 20 champion team begins back in 2019, when HCC welcomed back former head coach Mike Smelkinson.
I was approaching it like I never left. When I did leave, we were coming off of a conference championship, so I knew how to get it done at Howard.
Coming into the season, HCC men's basketball had endured 4 consecutive losing seasons.
Being recruited there by Coach Mike, the whole game plan was to make it a winning environment and to hang up a banner when the season was all said and done.
A home game in February against 4th-ranked Beaver County would prove to be the Dragons' best chance to show that they were serious contenders.
They were blowing everybody out by 30, 40 points every night. And the first play of the game, I think Beaver got the tap and threw a half-court alley-oop. The coaches kind of looked at each other and was like, oh, maybe they are that good. But our guys didn't care. They just took the ball out of the net, inbounded the ball, went down court, and executed the game plan perfectly.
The Dragons delivered a convincing 98-70 win over Beaver County, and the marquee February victory truly was a launching point for HCC. The Dragons finished the season with 8 straight wins, none sweeter than the Region 20 championship against CCBC Dundalk, with a berth in the national tournament on the line.
Oh, man, I was, in the zone, honestly. I didn't even eat before that game. I was just so focused on playing that game. We got all the way here, we can't lose now.
Focus on each other. Finish the game. Playing our way. Let's go. Finish on 3.
My family being there, giving me hugs, saying that we did it, just felt awesome. Being with my teammates, we all finally did it.
Terrell Willis and Mike Gray, the three of us, we've been a part of HCC for a minute. Those were the first two people that I hugged because we been through that losing season and we know what it was like.
You're the best team I've ever coached. We got a chance. We got a chance to be national champions, guys. We have a chance to be national champions. We're good enough. We're good enough to do it.
The coronavirus pandemic forced an abrupt end to the Dragons season with the cancellation of the national tournament. 3 players from the team have already committed to 4-year universities. To cap the season, Mike Smelkinson was named the Bob Kirk Coaches Association Coach of the Year by fellow Maryland Community College head coaches.
He kind of taught me that even kill mindset, never fracture your focus, just stay focused on the game. Those are really valuable lessons that I know I'm going to be able to take with me when I go to my next school.
Congratulations to Mike Smelkinson and the whole team. As a testament to our high standards for excellence, the United States Department of Commerce awarded Howard Community College the 2019 Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award in the category of education. The award is the nation's only presidential honor for performance excellence in organizations. Since 2005, HCC has worked towards standards set by the Baldrige Program, which provides a framework to measure organizational success. The award honors Howard Community College's shared commitment to continuous quality improvement. The result is great strides in closing the achievement gap, increasing completion, and preparing students for the workforce. Find more information about HCC's Baldrige Performance Excellence Program online. Despite a period of dramatic change, our community has displayed courage and commitment in tackling a new way of operating. The pandemic created a new reality, one in which Howard Community College will emerge stronger. That's it for this edition of Pathways. Thank you for joining me.